holding us back. So the feelings, we have 8 feelings. It's not that big a deal. There are 3 primary colors. There are a certain number of musical notes. We have a certain number of organs, and we can have a certain number of feelings, just like we have a certain number of needs. So life may be a little more organized than we have allowed ourselves to face, but it's hard enough to do even if it's organized. Okay, so we have 8 feelings. Fear, sadness, hurt, loneliness, anger, shame, guilt, and gladness. All right? And all of those are passwords or tools to allow us to move into the rest of our territory. Almost like if you think of going from left to right, there's a doorway here and we move into how we're made. Think of ourselves as a house. The feelings awaken us to the recognition of our needs. The needs awaken us to desire. The desire awakens us to longings, and longings awaken us to hope. And hope comes back and brings us to our feelings. Now, we know from the last taping that a child is born and human beings carry the desperation of hope and the courage to express it. Now, courage means wholehearted participation. The word for a heart in other languages, in French, it's cœur, which is courage, which comes from the word heart. In Latin, cor, the center of one's being, where we get the word courage, is also the word for heart. In the United States, or in English, the word core is the center of something, and it refers to the inner being or the center of a human being. The core, courage, and heart all go together. So the feelings awaken us to needs, and like this, if a person receives a wound of some kind, an emotional rejection, that person receives a pain, they have hurt, and they can either go to the territory of resentment and vengeance to block that hurt, or that hurt can turn them into the need for the assistance to be rehabilitated to return to what they were before, the capacity to be willing to be hurt, because people who aren't willing to be hurt don't climb mountains, for example. They play it safe instead of living the life that they're made to live, which is a good life. So feelings awaken us to needs. That wounded person has a need for security, a need to trust again, a need to be cared for, a need to be nurtured, for example. And they have to have the desire for that to happen. They have to reach out for it. So the needs awaken me to desire for the life I was made to live. Longings, which we'll touch base on in just a moment. And then the territory of hoping that it will work, which we're very scared of. And just for example, to note how these things work together, the moment human beings start to hope for something, it cannot help but have a feeling. For example, hope is a thing that we don't have. It's a picture, a wish, a hunger for, a thirst for something that we don't have. And then the moment we start to picture what we don't have, automatically there's going to be the anticipation that we might not get it, or wondering how it's going to happen, which leads me to my inborn capacity, before I could articulate and think, the ability to have fear. And fear is there, which we talked about in the other tape, to allow me to ask for help. Fear is a feeling that allows me to recognize danger and ask me for help so I can get prepared to go do that thing that I hope will happen.